I love it. It's so unpredictable, so wide open with these four here.
It really is, Jim. You talk to coaches all over the city. You say, hey, which team would you like to coach? And you get four different answers. I don't think we've had a setup like that in a long, long time.
And this is the fourth Final Four to be played here at the Superdome. They have all been memorable, particularly at the close. Billy, back in 1982, all of these moments part of the lure of college basketball, the Jordan winner against Georgetown.
And there's that famous pass when James Worthy out of position from Freddie Brown. North Carolina wins the first championship for Dean Smith. And then Keith Smart in Indiana. He had an incredible run in that ball game, not only the final shot. And then, Jim, who will ever forget this moment with Chris Webber?
Well, that Smart shot almost on the same spot on the floor as the Jordan winner 5 years earlier. Well, we're getting set now for Kansas and Marquette. We'll return to New Orleans in just a moment.
Introducing the fast new C230 sports sedan with a supercharged compressor engine. To catch one, you gotta be in one.
Marquette and Kansas, maybe not that many had those two in their brackets, but they have actually met on the Final Four stage before, back in 1974, with Marquette beating Kansas. First game before, of course, that Walton and UCLA NC State matchup. But let's look at this Marquette team, Billy, that can really shoot it.
They really can shoot it. Travis Diener has been outstanding, playing almost 35 minutes a game. The young man, second team All-Conference, Conference USA. And you talked about a freshman considered the best sixth man in Conference USA. Novak, a 53% three-point shooter.
Then they've got a force inside, too, and that is Robert Jackson, who came home to finish his career at Marquette.
Amazing to see a transfer. Gets 1 year as a senior. He has been outstanding in a low post. Going to give Jeff Graves a lot to handle inside for Kansas.
And then, of course, Dwayne Wade. And what a player you're going to see here today, folks.
Well, there have only been 3 people in the history of the NCAA that have had a triple-double in the tournament. Dwayne Wade is one of them.
And the Kansas Jayhawks will have to start, of course, with Nick Collison, who had that monster game against Duke, the single performance of the tournament with his 33 in that win.
He was sensational in that ball game. Had a stretch in 7 minutes. He made 12 straight points. First team All-American.
Heinrich, after an off night against Duke, boy, he came back and was the star against Arizona.
He really did. He came up big. He's a second team All-American player, first team All-Big 12 player, a brilliant backcourt matchup with Collison.
You've got those two, and then you've got some players that maybe could come up and step up and, just like they did last week, have a big impact on the game like Graves did against Arizona.
I think Graves is the most important key for Kansas. If he can stay out of foul trouble early, it really gives Roy Williams a chance to utilize that short bench.
And also Langford, who can slash, take it to the basket, and come up with a top performance.
Great to have a man that can break out like this. He's in double figures every game in this NCAA tournament.
Billy, you want everybody to take note now. The X's and O's on the Kansas side with Collison and Heinrich and this Jayhawk team passing.
Roy Williams has always been a coach that emphasized great team play and great team passing. Here we see Collison at the top of the key. He hits down inside a touch pass back outside to Heinrich. Look at how all the defense has to converge on Heinrich, and then he hits the open man for the easy layup inside as Lee converts.
All right, so Kansas and Marquette will get things started here in the Big Easy in a moment.
CBA Sports presentation of the Final Four show is sponsored by AOL for Broadband and by the Principal Financial Group.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Louisiana Superdome for today's semifinal game between the Marquette Golden Eagles and the Kansas Jayhawks. Let's meet the starting lineups. At forward for Marquette, a 6'7" sophomore from Chicago, Illinois, number 1, Todd Townsend. At forward for Kansas, a 6'4" sophomore from Fort Worth, Texas, number 5, Keith Langford. At forward for Marquette, a 6'10 junior from Wauwatosa, Wisconsin, number 5, Scott Merritt. At forward for Kansas, a 6'9 senior from Iowa Falls, Iowa, number 4, Nick Collison. At center for Marquette, a 6'10 senior from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, number 55, Robert Jackson. At center for Kansas, a 6'9 junior from Lee Summit, Missouri, number 42, Jeff Graves. At guard for Marquette, a 6'5 junior from Robbins, Illinois, number 3, Dwayne Wade. At guard for Kansas, a 6'3 senior from Sioux City, Iowa, number 10, Kirk Heinrich. At guard for Marquette, a 6'1 sophomore from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, number 34, Travis Diener. At guard for Kansas, a 6'1 sophomore from Portland, Oregon, number 11, Aaron Miles. And introducing the head coaches for Marquette, Tom Crean, and for Kansas, Roy Williams.
All right, our Final Four tradition here. The Packer points, our Final Four analysis, Billy. Things to watch for today.
Boy, so many things, Jim, are out there. The triple-double man. What we're looking at right now is, can Dwayne Wade be like Danny Manning was for Kansas back in '88? Put a team on his back and carry him. He did that against Kentucky. Can he do it again? Jayhawks on the run. No team pushes the ball up the court as a team any better than the Jayhawks do. Fast break points will be important. Marquette has got to get back. One-year wonder. Robert Jackson has been outstanding in the low post, and if he gets Jeff Graves in trouble early with foul trouble, Marquette really has a big advantage. Hands off, and what I'm talking about there, Graves did an incredible job last week against Arizona, staying out of foul trouble early. That really extends the bench for Roy Williams, and he was outstanding statistically as well. They're the keys.
Billy, let's check in with Bonnie Bernstein. Bonnie?
Jim, these Jayhawks have never played in the Superdome, but they are intimately familiar with the exterior of this building. At the beginning of the season, Roy Williams put a poster of the dome in each of his players' lockers. At the top of the poster, the question, have you done everything you can today to get to New Orleans? On the bottom, just 2 words, finish it. You'll look in their eyes, and they're ready to do just that. Armin?
Thanks, Bonnie. You say Marquette has been preparing for this moment all year long. Early in the season, Tom Crean ordered a picture of the Superdome, had it enlarged, and asked every single member of his team to sign it. In essence, as a pact, binding this team together. That picture has followed the team from game into every meeting room. I just saw it moments ago, Jim, in the locker room. A final fitting reminder for all these Marquette players that they belong here.
All right, Armin. Thank you. It's been with them every step of the way. Kansas wears the home whites as the better seed to start the tournament, and the Jayhawks with the first possession.
Diener on Heinrich. Puts Wade on Miles. He can give up some shots there, and Miles surprises everybody. Jim with the first 2 from the outside.
It's actually a 3. Not what you expect from Miles.
Absolutely not. Great sign for Kansas.
Wade trying to work on Heinrich, gives it up Diener. Right back Wade, and the Jayhawks come out with it.
Excellent man-to-man defense that time by Miles and Heinrich. Diener give up a lot of size to Heinrich.
Miles, can he do it again?
That would really be surprising to hit 2 jumpers in a row.
Marquette's road, well, I tell you, there have been doubters every step of the way. Give this team credit. Defying what everyone felt would be, who knows, a Kentucky bracket, but to beat Holy Cross, Missouri, Pittsburgh, and then a thrashing of Kentucky in the final. What a strong regional by the Golden Eagles. Away from the ball, a push-off Colt against Graves of Kansas. The one thing, Billy, you said he's got to be careful for.
And there was one where he didn't get a reaching foul. Diener driving into the basket without the ball. Again, Jeff Graves has got to stay out of foul trouble early on. So far, Wade has been relatively passive against Heinrich.
That was tipped out by Graves.
Heinrich known for his great assist ability, but also as one of the best defensive guards in college basketball, particularly on the ball.
And how about the block of the Jason Gardner three at the end of the game last week at the West Regional?
And then having the presence of mind and staying right with Gardner and making sure that he didn't get a good look on that retrieve of that block shot.
Jason Gardner was here yesterday. A little shoot around for the NABC All-Stars, and it's not the way he wanted to make it to the Final Four floor. And he told me he thought that last three was in. He just certainly had made it.
Straight man-to-man defense. This is a good move. Go inside to Jackson, particularly with Graves picking up the first.
And they say it touched Jackson last.
Nice job by Graves to go over the top on Jackson. But if you're Marquette, boy, you ought to attack inside quickly, particularly since Graves picked up that easy foul.
First two trips for Marquette, 2 turnovers.
Collison has not touched it in the low post either. Diener gets caught on a screen.
Heinrich off the rim with the jumper.
Heinrich
There's Wade. Going inside, Jackson. Graves wipes it away.
Graves doesn't have tremendous leaping ability inside, but he's got the wide body.
They say it was last touch by Marquette. It's going to Kansas.
Again, I'm surprised that Collison hasn't touched the ball inside. Here he goes.
Langford loves to drive, and he delivers.
Bad defense by Townsend gave the baseline drive. We've all seen Langford, a tremendous slasher to the basket.
First 5 to Kansas.
Nice help.
Tough pass, but
if you're Wade right now, you've got to get your hands on the ball and try to create something offensively. Get a screen, get him loose. Here he goes.
Side jumper in and out, and Collison takes it away. Townsend with the misfire. Miles will take the baseline, and inside is Marquette coming out with Merritt.
Jackson running the floor pretty well for a big man.
Diener back to the rim, tipped around. Townsend. Merritt again, right over Collison. For Marquette's first 2.
Good interior passing there, Jim, but I thought maybe they might have made one pass too many. It gave Collison a chance to react. He couldn't get to the ball.
Lob it. Graves, yes. Langford with the assist.
Excellent back screen by Kansas to get it open. Right now,
Graves is down. Graves
twisted his ankle.
Yeah, may have landed awkwardly, but he doesn't want to be taken out.
Jim, if he'd weighed 290 pounds the way he started the Kansas practices in early fall, that ankle would never have recovered, but the young man has gotten in condition, and he wants to stay in this ball game.
Kansas, the West Regional champs. They had 2 games where the opponent had a 3-point tying attempt. That includes the first-round game against a feisty Utah State team. They took care of Arizona State, Duke, and Arizona.
And, of course, in the Big 12 tournament, leading up to this NCAA tournament, didn't make it to the finals. They were beaten by Missouri. We have an official who was stunned down at the end of the court when Graves fell, and he's just trying to get himself back together.
There you see the officials, and he too just needed a standing 8 count, and he's ready to go.
Pick up full court. Nice job by Miles. Jim, again, I'm going to have to say, Wade has got to be more aggressive here. I realize he's quite the team player, a very balanced offensive player, but he's got to recognize in a game like this, he's got to step up.
He's not taken a shot to this point. Now push off on Miles, who fouled out of that last game against Arizona.
And that is where Roy Williams was fortunate to have the likes of Lee to come in the ball game and really do the job defensively for Kansas. But we're talking about a Kansas team that basically is 7 deep.
People were saying all season long that depth would do them in. It has not been the case at all in this tournament.
Well,
lack of depth.
One of the things, Jim, we can remember in 1982, the team that won the national championship with Dean Smith, Roy Williams was an assistant there, and that basically was a 5-man team with limited substitutions, able to win a national championship.
Here's Wade's first attempt, and yes, it's a 2.
Well, you like a player that is a team player as Wade is, but he has to recognize what his role's got to be in this game. He has got to take a leadership position early. Giving Kansas the credit for having been to a Final Four before really helps him experience-wise.
Well, Heinrich got a great screen from Collison, but off on the jumper. Diener at the other end with a 3.
A lot of confidence by Diener to pull up and take that 3 without anybody under.
Kansas pushes it up, and Langford lays it in.
Well, we talk about pushing the ball up the floor. Kansas does it as well as anybody. Tom Crean has to be upset with that.
There's Wade turnaround.
Tough shot.
Townsend kept it alive. Merritt tipped up by Jackson. And Wade, he's back on his feet, but Kansas has a 1-man advantage. And Miles quickly at the other end and 1.
Wade seems to be all right. How about the fact Kansas, again, pushing the ball up the floor. Miles off to a very good start offensively. We'll see the tip. The ball is outside the cylinder, but a grabbing onto the basket that could have been called for some interference here. See, the ball is outside the cylinder. But what we had right there was a Marquette, and I think it was Wade.
It was Wade. It
Yep.
was Wade.
The officials could have called that.
Graves goes out of the game. And Kansas brings in Bryant Nash.
Nash, who has played extremely well coming off the bench, is a great leaper on the inside, gives up a lot of size here, but can really get in the air.
Aaron Miles with a 3-point shot and a 3-point play. Kansas in front. Marquette's the first Conference USA team to make the Final Four. When Cincinnati went back in '92, it was the great Midwest. But this Marquette team, during the season and postseason, has beaten a mighty impressive list of conference champions. It's incredible the honor roll they have.
Well, they won the regular season in Conference USA, but they have made a run against anybody that's come forward. Of course, the last one being Kentucky, that was not only the postseason conference winner in the SEC, but the regular season winner as well.
Yeah, there's Wisconsin, Big Ten regular season champs. They beat the ACC regular season champs. They beat Pittsburgh, which won the Big East tournament. And, of course, Kentucky as well. Now, of course, the Big 12 here
regular season champs
is the opponent today, trying to add to that list.
Well, they'll not get a shot at the Pac-10, but other than that, that's a clean sweep.
You're talking about.
I don't think that's ever happened before. Certainly not in a run that included a number of them in the NCAA tournament as well. Jim, I think back in 1974, of course, the big talk in Greensboro, North Carolina was the NC State UCLA matchup. But in that other side, there was Al McGuire's Marquette team that did beat a Kansas team. Went on to lose in that final to NC State, where Al said, I had a terrible coaching game. Had 2 technicals in that game. David Thompson and crew, the champions.
Diener driving, kicks it out. Townsend with a 3. Chased down by Marquette. And that's tipped out, and it'll be Marquette ball. That's the only time Marquette has ever beaten Kansas. Kansas winning the other 6 matchups.
Jim, here we have the game 5 minutes old, and we have Townsend has taken more shots than Wade. That's not what you want if you're Marquette.
Wade underneath. Tough shot. Langford comes in to collect it for Kansas.
And again, pushing the ball up the floor goes Kansas. They're so good at it.
Collison with a tap. Merritt sweeps it away.
Collison would like to have that one back with a 2-handed catch.
Here's Townsend again. And he's going to the line.
That's going to be on Nash, Jim.
You can get instant information, scoring, rebounds, more stats, updated, live and available now in the Game Center. CBSSportsLine.com or on America Online under the keyword CBS Sports Line. So Nash is first, 2 for Townsend.
One of the things about this Marquette team, not only their outstanding 3-point shooting in the tournament, but they've been a very good free throw shooting team as well.
77% on the season. And Michael Lee, what a tournament boost he has been. And Graves returns to the Kansas lineup.
Graves comes back in with just one foul, so in pretty good shape if you're Kansas. I was wondering who was going to pick up Jackson with Graves out of the ball game.
Well, here comes the super sub on the Marquette side. We're talking about Novak.
Well, we got a 2-2-1 full court press right now by Marquette. Nice recognition.
Inside Graves. Jackson, no call. Novak knocks it off of Graves smartly, and it's Marquette's.
Excellent passing by Kansas and a great block by Jackson. He was a third-team All-SEC as a junior at Mississippi State. So we're not just talking about a transfer that couldn't play.
You're talking out of that league.
Absolutely. Great fake by Wade.
Got Kansas to commit, so he'll go to the line.
Wade plays under control. It's really interesting. We look at him now, Jim, without question, first-team All-American. And looking back through his high school career, he was the seventh leading vote getter for Mr. Illinois basketball. So here we are 3 years ago. That's what people thought of him as a prospect in high school. And here we are today as one of the premier players in college basketball.
That foul a moment ago was on Heinrich. And Wade, just a junior, first-team All-America, the Conference USA Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year in this league.
Pretty nice combination, isn't it?
Oh, you got to love that. 12-12 on the board here in New Orleans.
Well, if you're Kansas, the first thing you want to do right now is let Collison touch the ball. Zone defense now by Marquette. 2-3 zone. Takes a little bit away from the idea I had in mind to get Collison that ball inside.
Langford, he's open, lays it in.
And again, there was Collison, much like he was against Arizona's 1-3-1 defense. He's such a decoy in there. He occupied 2 men in that zone, opened up the lane.
Langford has 6 for Kansas. Novak,
great shooter.
Can he ever? Not this time, though, and Collison's the man underneath.
Again, the Jayhawks trying to get numbers.
Pull up 3, Heinrich.
They break so well, and particularly now that Marquette's in the zone defense, Heinrich took advantage. Great change of dribble.
And Wade, they'll count that basket.
Wow, what a first step by Wade on that crossover.
Roy Williams
right
was,
by.
He was saying, wait a minute, that was traveling.
Yeah, well, there it is. I'm not going to give him a travel on that one. That's just a great crossover dribble, and Roy better put a hat on. He's going to catch a cold over there if he's going to get that close to Wade on that drive.
That is a lightning fast first step.
Yeah, that's where you get a hat on.
Collison off the miss.
There those soft hands of Collison on that rebound.
And Lee takes the 3. Yes.
Again, a very unselfish play here. Any team that gets to this point has got to be unselfish. But Kansas always, they have a heritage of giving that ball up.
And Lee, after Heinrich forced the steal.
That was probably a pretty good foul by Sanders, because Kansas had the numbers. Heinrich was on the floor. Sanders went right over the top of him. Kansas probably could have scored on that play. So a good foul, if there ever is such a thing.
Terry Sanders just in with his first foul. Aaron Miles will take out Langford, who's not ready to sit.
Langford off as he can, Jim. We talked about a guy, number 3 scorer on this team, averaging right at about 16 points, 15-6 a game, but capable of having a huge game as he did against Arizona earlier this year with 20 points in the first half.
Yeah, he's got a good start going here already as well. He'll take a breather, and the Jayhawks.
Nice.
Heinrich, make sure he's on behind the 3 line. Yes.
Collison and Heinrich, 2 guys that were co-Mr. Basketball in high school in Iowa, played together for so long, just had a feel for themselves there.
Forces Marquette to take the timeout. You could see Heinrich in the corner. He looked down to make sure the toes were not on the line. Squared it up and knocked it down. It's a 9-point lead. The Singular Wireless fan poll. Do you think a Big 12 team will win this year's tournament? Yes or no? You can send your vote to 171. You're a Singular Wireless user, or log on to CBS Sports Line. Results of Singular at the half. Inside Merritt. Too strong from right inside.
Now with Lee and Heinrich in the game, Lee taking off. Miles trying to make the perfect pass, probably didn't have it there.
Well, those two, that was like a little pass to the end zone those two used to try back at Jefferson High School in Portland, but not this time. Well, after this one, we've got Syracuse and Texas out of the Big 12. The Big 12 with 2 teams for the second straight year at the Final Four.
Jim, it's kind of interesting. 17 times 2 or more teams from the same conference have gotten into the NCAA tournament. All started back in '76 with that great Indiana-Michigan combination. We've actually had it 5 straight years now. 2 teams from the same conference have gotten into this Final Four.
Novak stepping over. Missed his first 2 from out there.
Pretty good job on a closeout that by Lee. They're going to charge right at him and make him put the ball on the floor. Good defensive strategy.
Heinrich. Collison helped out, and Heinrich missed the chipping.
Second time tonight, Kansas has had the block out on the baseline. Layups were missed.
Sanders keeps it in Marquette's hands. There's Wade spinning. Collison clears. Here comes Kansas running. Heinrich. And Marquette now with its largest deficit of the tournament.
Heinrich went down. It must be a little slippery around that basket. Heinrich had the tough fall there. Remember Graves earlier, and one official went down there.
Wade, tough shot. Sanders with the putback.
No block out. Wade now understanding what he's got to do. He's got to take over this ball game. Marquette's going to get back into it.
Well, Diener trying to save it and trying to call a timeout.
His teammates all caught him on the side. Talk about good teamwork. He tried to call timeout, and he crashed into somebody. It might have been knee to knee over there, limping a little bit.
Never got the timeout. The Kansas ball.
I don't think they said he had control of it, taking it out there with him, Jim, so he never got that timeout call. Heinrich's going to go out. He had a little slip, stubborn a little bit. He takes it with him. He tries to get the timeout. See, he didn't have control of the ball.
Bradley, number 10, has come in for Marquette. And Diener to the bench.
Seeing a lot of guys with some bumps and bruises early in this ball game. Fortunately, nobody hurt that looks like they're going to miss that much playing time. But down this end of the floor, guys are getting knocked. There's that back screen for Collison. Doesn't work out. Marquette goes back to the man-to-man. Should get Collison open.
Sanders jumps. Collison patient, and another 2 for Kansas.
That's a good statement, Jim. When first-team All-American are patient, as Collison was against Arizona and has been so far tonight, they will eventually explode. Big overplay.
Before this one tonight, Marquette's biggest deficit of the tournament was 9. Down 9 at one time against Pitt. They faced the largest deficit of the NCAAs, 11.
Well, they are not giving Wade much to look at, are they?
Shot too strong, tipping. Look at Collison controlling inside.
And with that controlling of the defensive glass, Kansas can get running.
Langford, he now has 8.
Another player down, and I think if I'm Tom Crean, I talk about cleaning up this floor. It is very slippery down on this end. It'd be a way to slow this game down a little bit also, to bring it to the attention of the officials.
Novak from the corner.
0 for 3.
Over the back on Wade.
Right now, Kansas totally in control of this basketball game. It's going to be interesting to watch Wade here now, Jim. You know, despite the fact that he's a great player, he really only has, this is his second year of playing college basketball because he sat out a year. The experience factor of whether he realizes what it's going to take for a great player to step up, you're going to have to see it in the next 9 minutes of this first half.
He's hit 2 of 6 from the field. Marquette as a team, 29%.
Man-to-man now by Marquette. They've tried a zone as well as man-to-man. Collison inside open. Sanders no match for Collison, and Kansas doing the right thing, going right to their All-American center.
Timeout Marquette.
Great strategy by Kansas.
31-16 Jayhawks. Well, 22 of the tournament games decided by 5 or less. And, well, again, 2 Big 12 teams. The Big 12 compilation of the former Big 8 and 4 Southwest Conference schools that came over and joined them. It certainly improved the quality of basketball. We'll see one of those old Southwest Conference teams now, Big 12 member Texas and Syracuse in the second game here tonight.
Jim, they had 6 in. They have 2 left, have an 11-3 record all told in the NCAA tournament. So without question, their report card, the best in the country.
This Kansas team was the team of the regular season for its conference. You look at the full body of work, they won the league.
It's amazing. Marquette here in the Final Four has been out-rebounded 3 times and tied in rebounds once in the 4 games that got them here, and Kansas taking advantage of that now.
And on the way up, foul here on Marquette. Look at Kansas has hit 4 out of 5 from 3.
Well, if anything, you'd have figured that this was an advantage that Marquette would have with their outstanding three-point shooting. But it hasn't happened so far, particularly Novak, who came into the game and has exploded from 3 in this tournament. He's 0 for 3 so far today.
Diener with the foul, 2 for Heinrich. And the former co-MVP, as you said, Billy, Mr. Basketball at Iowa, with his teammate Collison, his Kansas teammate. That Iowa pipeline started by Rafe LaFrance. Coming up big here at the start of this one today, 33-16.
Well, what you love about the young man, he came back brilliantly against Arizona after going 1 for 9 against Duke.
Miles almost got out there from behind. Diener. Merritt in and out. Well, it's Kansas just controlling it. Collison with 8 rebounds in this game.
He's like an octopus in there. He has such great hands.
Miles with the short jumper, tipped out. Kansas will control.
Right now you see the experience of Kansas looking like it's paying off. Marquette is a frazzled state right now, both on the offensive and the defensive end.
First foul on Merritt. Nash will be coming in for Kansas. We've got the under 8 timeout. They have more than doubled up. The Golden Eagles, 10 for Heinrich. And the Pontiac Performance Cam. Giving it a look at this 33-16 Jayhawk lead on a 21-4 run.
Well, Jim, they're shooting over 65%, but Kansas set a new school NCAA record of shooting 67.8 in their explosive win against Arizona State, and they're picking up right where they left off in that game.
It's starting to look like that game right now.
That's right.
Their second-round win.
The last loss that Kansas had was against Missouri, a team that this Marquette club beat in overtime in this NCAA tournament. So they're certainly capable of not getting it done so far.
Heinrich with the 3. Inside, it's Langford.
He is a quiet slasher. Doesn't have the size, but knows how to get good position. And right now, Kansas' rebounding prowess is really causing Marquette problems on both ends.
Diener driving on Miles. And Jackson secures it, puts it back.
You don't find Collison have the ball taken away from him often, but he did there.
His first 2. Langford this time outside. Again.
And again, Jim, just beating Marquette down the floor before the defense gets set. Kansas gets a good look. Great execution by Kansas in this first half.
Diener off a screen. Out to Miles, and Langford will put this one away.
Great leaper, and what you have there is Diener trying to take over the game, as I said that Wade should try to do, who's not on the floor now, trying to do too much against a Kansas team that knows how to help out on screens.
It's a 21-point lead. Langford has 14. Jackson will try to make his moves on Collison, gives it up. Diener.
That's a big break right there. Jackson with nice hands on the inside.
A tip, Merritt, second try to the line. Well, Heinrich for the Jayhawks right now.
Having a fine game, and Jim, we remember the first time we saw Heinrich in NCAA play back when he was a freshman. Held Duke's Jason Williams to 2 for 15 shooting. Played a tremendous game and has had some career at Kansas.
That was a second-round overtime game won by Duke in Winston-Salem.
He's a young man that committed as a sophomore in high school to Iowa State, thinking he was going to play for Tim Floyd, and when Tim Floyd left, it opened up the door for Kansas, and they've been really lucky with that recruit.
Yeah, he was thinking then Kansas or Oklahoma, and he followed Collison down. Near the conclusion of the game, we'll select the Chevrolet most valuable player from each team. To date, Chevrolet has contributed more than $8 million to the general scholarship funds of America's colleges and universities. Yeah, he hooked up with Collison, and they've won 112 games in their 4-year careers. That's 28 wins a season.
I thought a great move this year was with Eddie Sutton in the Oklahoma State game. Walked down in front of both benches and shook both of their hands as far as a compliment, a class act, how well they have played and the class they've handled themselves with in the Big 12. And what Roy Williams has the opportunity right now is to rest Collison, keep guys out of foul trouble. One of the few turnovers in his half for Kansas.
Here's Wade inside Jackson.
Beautiful pass by Wade.
Boy, Wade just glides around that floor.
Maybe being a little bit too unselfish in this first half. Now with Collison out, Kansas doesn't have that same inside presence.
Miles.
Third time today, Jim, Kansas has set the screen on the baseline. That time, Miles delivered. They missed 2 layups earlier. Nice job by Graves.
Miles with 8 points in his first half and opened the game with a big 3.
Miles has had problems shooting, but nobody questions his ability on defense, and he's on Diener right now.
Graves denying the pass inside to Jackson.
And doing it without a foul.
Nash with a pick outside on Wade. It sets up Langford, only his second miss. Nash. Wow.
Didn't realize how open he was. Good defense.
Chapman trying to work something out. Well, Langford missed an open shot a moment ago, Billy, but he has 16. 14, that is.
He gets them very quietly, but so effective. And there's that dunk. He does have explosive jumping ability, but he's such a quiet scorer.
Every pass challenged.
Nobody helping Graves. Here's where he picks up foul trouble, and Jackson had to call a timeout. Great job by Graves, who is, Jim, it's amazing how in the last couple of games, he's not picking up those cheap fouls.
Well, Marquette in the tournament's hit over 50% from 3, but today they've only knocked down 1 of them. As Diener got it, but Billy on the night here, he's 1 for 7.
Well, Jim, he started out this tournament blazing from the outside. He was 10 for 17 in the first 2 games, but he's been off 2 for 8 and 1 for 6 in the last 2, and right now he's 1 for 7. Maybe trying to do a little bit too much out there right now. Wade just 2 for 6 and Diener 1 for 7. That's 3 for 13. You don't get much done that way from your backcourt.
Well, a moment here that Marquette needed to get one of those significant players in a little foul trouble. Graves with his second. And that's the 7th team foul, so a 1-and-1 for Jackson.
I think Roy Williams would get Graves out of there. Graves stepped in the line, got in there a little early. The officials didn't say anything. I'm surprised Roy Williams is leaving him in there. He's got 5 minutes to go in the half. You sure don't want him picking up his 3rd. Quite a gamble here.
Two for 2, Jackson. He has 8.
7 double-doubles on the year for Jackson. And we're back to the 2-3 zone again.
Collison to Heinrich in the corner. Chapman, who's just come in, trying to stay with him.
Look at where Jackson is. He's way out of position here. There should be somebody open under the basket.
Yeah, we'll switch off with Chapman.
Yep.
Now Lee with Wade on him. And on the line, they're going to say it was touched by Wade, so it'll be Kansas ball.
Wade, such a cool basketball player.
He picked up the ball and just launched a shot.
It almost hit a half-court shot right there, thinking that the ball was going to Marquette. Let's watch this defense. It's a 2-3 setup, but they're trapping all over the floor.
5 on the shot clock. And now 2 on the shot clock. Jayhawks to inbound.
Time for a pass, catch, and shot. Heinrich should get out there as far as he can. Get a solid screen. He's going to come off a double screen, looking to get a quick catch and shoot. Lob.
Collison.
Oh, that should have been a foul on Diener. He went underneath Collison. Pretty well executed play. Roy Williams wanted it. Watch Diener go down underneath here. He knows what he's doing. There's the block out underneath Collison. No foul call.
Wade over Lee. Wow, tough shot, but he soared through the air for a 2.
Jimmy's waited a little bit too long to put it in gear.
Lee, 3.
You can't trade baskets now if you're Marquette.
Especially 2s for 3s.
Right, they haven't found a defense yet to stop this quick push up the floor by Kansas.
Novak. Boy, for the great sub, it's been a tough start, and over the back on Jackson.
Boy, give Graves credit. Terrific block out on his part.
Kansas has hit 5 from the outside, leading by 18. Back in New Orleans, Jim Nance, Billy Packer, Bonnie Bernstein, Armin Katayan. Active coaches with tournament wins without a championship. Jim Boeheim and Roy Williams are here.
And there is one that I circled, John Chaney, who has already been elected into the Basketball Hall of Fame. So it shows you can reach the pinnacle without having won a national championship. Eddie Sutton in that mix potentially to go in the Hall of Fame this time, Jim.
Yes, they'll announce the inductees for 2003 here in New Orleans on Monday.
There's that 2-3 zone.
Langford, he has the touch tonight. He has now 16.
What he did is he came right in behind the zone so that the man defending didn't realize he was there. And then a terrific reverse dribble. Kansas has stayed in their man-to-man this entire game.
Wade
blocked.
Jackson.
Don't fault Graves in that when he made the block. Jackson was his man.
Graves still on the floor with the 2 fouls.
And that surprises me. Graves had inside position on Wade. Didn't touch the ball. A solid screen. Wade out of position completely. Good job by Graves.
Heinrich, another look. This time good.
Jim, what do you find? A team that can win a national championship will have guys that all of a sudden, for some reason, start playing smart. And Graves has been that man for Kansas. Complete change in the way he's approached the game the last few weeks.
Particularly against Arizona and this first half today.
And there again, Graves did not commit the foul. Jackson expected body contact, misses an easy one.
And they still push it up.
You can count on that.
Collison, soft roll.
And that's the distance that Nick Collison will take that shot. Marquette has had no answers defensively.
And that's the largest lead of the game. It's up to 23.
Jim, Novak is the #1 3-point percentage shooter in Conference USA at 48%. He hasn't had one all day. Look at that explosion.
Just bursting out of the pack. Langford, reach in Novak. They say it was in the act of shooting.
No answers for Marquette, and Kansas just showing how well they push the ball up the floor.
Coming up, Billy, we've got Singular at the half with Greg Clark and Michigan State head coach Tom Izzo. Complete first half analysis and the presentation of the Chevrolet Player of the Year and Coach of the Year coming up on Singular at the half. Langford with a huge half. The Fort Worth, Texas native. Huge throng coming over from Fort Worth. They had to charter a bus to bring all the friends and family.
Jim, I think the major difference between these two teams is the fact that most of the guys in the Kansas team last year were in a Final Four where they lost to Maryland. It seems like Marquette really hasn't adjusted to being in the big picture here today at any time in this half.
Look at Heinrich, so far out. Tipped around, Collison, put back.
Left hand, good hands. deflating whatever confidence Marquette had.
Go for Diener, Langford for Kansas.
Second time he's grabbed the rebound, pushed the ball up the floor himself.
Miles passes up the three, and he'll go to the line. Monday, The Late Show. Chris Elliott will be one of the guests. Later in the week, Adam Sandler and Lisa Marie Presley on Late Show with David Letterman right here on CBS, America's most watched network.
Looks like Dave giving us a little basketball ability there, spinning the ball on his finger.
Pretty nifty.
Yeah.
Making shots from off the roof. I saw that earlier. Novak with his second. Miles to shoot two.
And Jim, Miles showed us there that something that he may have to do. You assume Kansas now is ready to move on that final, but he has got to show that he's got confidence that he can hit that jumper. He had the wide open jumper, penetrated inside, got by with it by getting fouled, but you've got to see when you get that open jumper that you can take it and make it. Again, second time today he's picked up.
How many times you've seen a national semifinal with a team leading by 27 in the first half?
Well, I have seen one by more when Michigan State had Penn down, but I didn't expect this to happen here in this half. I did expect Michigan State to give Penn a pretty good going over. That's way back in 1979.
Gave Wade the basket at that end. Langford trying to battle. Jackson instead pulls it away. Diener lost the handle.
No place to go.
Oh, yeah. Here's Heinrich at the other end.
No place for Diener to go. The numbers were all Kansas way. There again, a sign of inexperience. Roy Williams still firing his team up. You'd think he'd be sitting over there relaxing a little bit.
Novak, three.
He has not made a shot today. We're talking about the best outside shooter in Conference USA.
For a 30-point lead. Collison lays it in on the follow-up. Just got a double-double in the first half.
Just like a pass.
3 seconds and a half. Inside, nope, shot. Townsend off the mark.
Tom Crean must be wondering, what is this team I'm looking at? They have done so well getting to this spot. Never in the ball game in that first half.
An absolute blowout performance by Kansas in the first half. So let's go over to Bonnie.
Well, Jim, obviously everything working offensively for Kansas, but 5 for 18 with Wade and Diener. What's working defensively?
Well, we're trying to play in a frenzy where we're challenging everything. The guys on the perimeter are switching when they have to and really getting up to the, but we've been very lucky. They've missed some open shots too.
Obviously that smile on your face, Coach. Thanks.
We'll have Greg and company coming up on Singular at the half when we continue from New Orleans right after this. What a first half by Kansas.
CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the men's national semifinals is sponsored by Mercedes-Benz, Mountain Dew Code Red, Monster, and by Bud Light.
All right, Billy, let's take a look at your first half analysis and how it matched up with your pregame points.
Well, the points, Jim, are going to lead to one thing. I thought Wade was a little slow trying to take charge, and of course that passed him by now, but he's on track to have a pretty solid game. But here is the story of this game. Marquette 0, Kansas 19. Jayhawks on the run have been just awesome. They have 16 assists, just 3 turnovers. Jackson, the one-year wonder, playing solid. And Graves doing an excellent job as he has, particularly in the last 2 games with hands off. Got 2 fouls, but did good blocking out inside. Everything about on track, except for the Jayhawks on the run. They've been awesome.
Marquette shooting only 25% in that first half as well. Second half coming up.
Coverage of the men's national semifinals is sponsored by Coca-Cola, Warner Brothers The Matrix Reloaded, Lipitor, and by Pontiac.
Back here at the Louisiana Superdome where the Jayhawks came out fired up Just on the run from the start, and Roy Williams implored his team to keep on going, knocking down threes and leading by 29 at the intermission. First half numbers about as one-sided as the scoreboard here.
It really is, Jim. Field goal percentage. Kansas not quite what they did against Arizona State, but being terrific from all phases. Marquette, a great three-point shooting team, just 1 for 8. And assists, look at that, 16-4. And what has been great about the assists by Kansas has come from so many different people in so many different ways. Marquette has never adjusted to how Kansas pushed the ball up the floor against them.
And there's Collison with 10 points, 12 rebounds. Langford leading the way with 17. And the Microsoft agile move of the first half right here.
Well, Langford, we talked about his great ability to slash. And what Kansas has done well, they've screened on the baseline, and Langford didn't need anything that time, just blew by early in the ball game, set the stage as to how Kansas wanted to attack the basket.
All right, Armin Katayan, take it away.
Jim, by far the biggest deficit of the season for Marquette. The previous only down by 12. Tom Crean said, we just did obviously a terrible job in our transition defense. We have to talk more, communicate more. He says, I want to try to chip away in 4-minute segments. He definitely does not believe this game is over. Back to you.
Jim, with the exception of the Notre Dame game in the 5 losses that Marquette has this year, and they lost to Notre Dame by 21 on the road, their losses have been by 3, 7, 3, and 7. So not even double digits. This is a whole new experience for this young team.
Second highest first half point total at a Final Four. Second to UCLA back in 1965.
Heinrich on Wade.
Wade inside, bouncing around into the hands of Merritt. And Collison again. Those huge mitts, great hands, good pass. Miles to Heinrich.
Boy, that was a great outlet pass. Looks like Graves hurt himself again. He's holding his wrist. And that was Collison again with those great hands. And Kansas on the run, no matter whether it's off a steal or off a rebound.
And Graves picks up his third.
Probably what Marquette should have done earlier.
They just keep running and running it to perfection.
Miles set a record at Kansas for freshman assists last year. And he and Heinrich know how to run that 2-on-1 break to perfection.
Diener spins away, thinks he has an open look, and another Jayhawk comes in on him.
That was Langford coming out to help out, realizing that Miles had been in the air.
Merritt. And look at the Jayhawks box out.
Again, a hit ahead by Collison.
Graves inside. And Merritt tied him up with the arrow. Everything right down to the arrow going to Kansas.
But again, that excellent passing by Kansas inside.
Got 25 made baskets and 17 of them with assists.
Absolutely.
How about that ratio?
Terrific passing, whether it be on the break or in the half-court set. How about how patient Collison had been offensively? He doesn't get what he wants the first time. Didn't know Jackson was coming from the weak side.
7 seconds on the shot clock. You think that first half by Marquette had anything to do with the jitters of being on this stage?
Well, obviously, they had no experience, any of these players, in playing in a Final Four before. A big advantage for Kansas, but I never thought that they would come out the way that they did, particularly from a shooting standpoint.
Miles has to beat the shot.
A rebound.
And Graves picks up his third.
Probably what Marquette should have done earlier.
They just keep running and running it to perfection.
Miles set a record at Kansas for freshman assists last year. And he and Heinrich know how to run that 2-on-1 break to perfection.
Diener spins away, thinks he has an open look, and another Jayhawk comes in on him.
That was Langford coming out to help out, realizing that Miles had been in the air.
Merritt. And look at the Jayhawks box out.
Again, a hit ahead by Collison.
Kansas inside. And Merritt tied him up with the arrow. Everything right down to the arrow going to Kansas.
But again, that excellent passing by Kansas inside.
Got 25 made baskets and 17 of them with assists.
Absolutely.
How about that ratio?
Terrific passing, whether it be on the break or in the half-court set. How about how patient Collison had been offensively? He doesn't get what he wants the first time. Didn't know Jackson was coming from the weak side.
7 seconds on the shot clock. You think that first half by Marquette had anything to do with the jitters of being on this stage?
Well, obviously, they had no experience, any of these players, in playing in a Final Four before. A big advantage for Kansas, but I never thought that they would come out the way that they did, particularly from a shooting standpoint.
Miles has to beat the shot clock. Oh, one goes down as well.
Well, Jim, remember how he started this game, hitting a three, a little bit more of a traditional three, and when Miles is hitting threes, you're really in trouble.
Wade doubled up. Wraparound pass. Jackson swarm. Out to the Jayhawks. 2-on-1.
Diener's tired of seeing this.
Foul on Marquette.
Jim, we're going to take a look from the outside. A young man that doesn't take them very often from the outside. Miles only shooting 23% from three on the year. Has only taken 92 of them. But today, he's buried 2 of them.
He's hit 2 out of 3 from out there. Heinrich with 1 more. That was the second foul on Diener.
Well, Diener has been backpedaling this second half. Just trying to stop that fast break from coming at him. Green on the sidelines, trying to get his team back into some semblance of order.
And right away comes to Langford.
Just nothing working for the young coach from Marquette. He's done such a great job turning that program around, bringing it the luster. It's the first time that they have won Conference USA regular season. But they are having a rough time today in every phase of the game. Nice pump fake.
Off the glass for 2. Wade.
He's having a solid game, Jim, because he's not really forcing anything. Miles has been the man offensively. Nobody even stopped him.
There's Merritt, a little soft shot. Well, actually too strong. Quick outlet. Miles goes right past him.
Thomas got to call a timeout right here. Get his club back in some semblance of order, Jim. They have lost all sense of confidence in this game.
It has gone from bad to worse for the Marquette Golden Eagles. A Kansas clinic here at the Louisiana Superdome. And we're enjoying pictures from the Pontiac Performance Cam.
Jim, we may be enjoying them, but Tom Crean is I'll tell you, this is a nightmare. And is a club that, as you pointed out, had beaten the champions this year. And you'd say, how could this team have actually controlled Kentucky?
Well, I was
playing better than anybody in the country up to that point.
I was going to say, as hard as it is to watch for Marquette fans, can you imagine what Kentucky is feeling like right now watching this?
Well, the only thing that would resemble this team and the team Kentucky played is they were playing in the same uniforms. Other than that, they wouldn't recognize anything.
And, you know, giving Marquette its due. I mean, it didn't just defeat Kentucky.
That's what I'm saying. They controlled that ball game. Stopped the team that all of us believed was the best in the country up to that point.
This fast break offense, Kansas from the get-go.
There we see the 2-on-1 break. The great hit aheads. This one off the steal for Langford. Kansas breaking out of every opportunity. It's been the complete difference in this ball game.
Inside, Langford comes over to help out.
As I said, no matter what the situation. Good job by Sanders getting back.
Last touch by Diener.
But you notice how often, Jim, Marquette never even has an opportunity to set up their 5-man defense. It's always Kansas with the numbers on the break.
60% from the field.
Heinrich and Collison with their experience, so patient.
Miles, just from the start. 18 for Miles.
Collison and Heinrich setting the stage, and Miles having the big offensive game today.
This is Mike Berger in the Channel 11 Severe Storm Center. We do have a new tornado warning for Parker County. Palo Pinto County still under a tornado warning and will be until 7:30. Parker County remains under that, or has just been put under a tornado warning until 7:30 p.m. Just to give you an idea of what's going on here, take a quick look at this storm. Tornado signature there. That storm is moving east at 40 miles per hour just to the north and west of Mineral Wells. It's throwing hail up to 3.5 inches. We also have some shear out to the west, just southeast of Graham.
In my dream, I'm running.
Meteorologist Mike Berger in the CBS 11 Severe Storm Center. Let's take a quick look at the radar, then we're going to squeeze it back so you can continue to watch the game here. But this is a dangerous situation. A tornado warning has been issued for Parker as well as Palo Pinto County. Palo Pinto will be extended from 6:30 to 7:30. Meanwhile, the new issuance has come out for Parker County, also a tornado warning until 7:30 p.m. This is a very dangerous storm. It has been moving due east. Now it's moving a little bit to the northeast, but that's not unusual for this thing. It's been moving a little to the southeast and a little to the northeast. It's throwing some hail and some very heavy hail at times. Certainly potential for some tornadoes. As a matter of fact, a train spotter north of Mineral Wells spotted a tornado on the ground. We're still waiting for more reports on that. Again, this storm has been alive since Sweetwater about 3 hours ago, and it continues to move in a due easterly direction toward the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Again, there's plenty of wind in this. It's been showing shear of 70 knots. Possibility of tornadoes, and therefore tornado warnings have been issued for Palo Pinto as well as Parker County until 7:30. I would assume that if this storm holds together, we will be seeing tornado warnings for Wise County as well as Tarrant County. They have not been issued yet, but as this storm has been very, very dangerous, they very easily could be in the next 30 to 45 minutes. So stay with us here at CBS 11. Enjoy the game, and if there's any further developments with this storm, we will certainly break in and bring them to you.
For the next game, and I'll tell you what, he will start to try to ride this team to get him ready. Wade got hit in the mouth. He's down the other end of the floor. The officials don't see it. Now they do.
And Roy Williams has come out onto the floor. He was during the middle of that trying to get the officials to come over.
Does Wade catch an elbow here? Well, he just got smacked by Collison right at the bridge of the nose. You see it right here. Got it with part of the wrist right into his nose. He's still down on the floor. A young man who is a terrific basketball player. As we said, first team All-American, Conference's Player of the Year in Conference USA, Conference Defensive Player of the Year. It's a very smooth player. But today, and I think it will come with experience, he has to learn how to take over a game early. He'll have to come out here. Young man who's married, has a child, sat out the first year at Marquette, not that heavily recruited. But he is quite a talent.
Married his high school sweetheart. We saw that story from Greg and Clark and the crew. Pre-game show. You talked about the triple doubles in tournament history to start, and Wade joined. Look the names he joined. Magic and Andre Miller, who took that Utah team off that regional final performance all the way to the final.
Second nice feed by Bradley on the inside. This game is not in doubt, so it's a matter now, if you're Roy Williams, you got to start playing for Monday night and get your team to stay focused, not trade baskets or get sloppy. Novak would like to hit one. For a guy that shoots as well as he does from 3, he just hasn't been able to get anything open.
And a bump of the body. Call it on Lee, I believe. Collison, his second.
Jackson, who has been obviously a great addition to Marquette. We talked about him transferring out of Mississippi State. Had the big-time game against Kentucky, 10 for 16, 24 points, 15 rebounds against the Kentucky Wildcats, the team that up to that point had really done a fine job against Postman.
Graves back. Heinrich in. Wade, you got to think he'll be coming back in just a few.
Well, you see what Roy Williams is doing. We talked about the short bench that he has, but he wants to keep people's legs fresh for Monday night. And a lot of time to play in this game, so there's a lot of chance for Kansas to get sloppy. And that's one thing you have to fear as a coach with this kind of working margin.
You wonder how much, though, you're willing to give up on sloppiness to get since you don't have that great depth, get these guys a lot of time on the bench and save them for Monday. Michael Lee.
I think we'll see that under the 10-minute mark, given maybe Heinrich and Collison some breaks, as he's given Collison some right now. There's Collison's defensive ability. Diener just can't stay with him, and this time Diener gets hit in the nose.
And a timeout called by Marquette. Well, Kansas leads by 29 at the half. They come right out and they've hit 9 of their first 10 shots. The second stanza has just used its last timeout.
Well, Jim, if you're Tom Crean, you have got to do that. You had to do anything you could to slow down this momentum of Kansas. You can't worry about saying, well, I'm going to wait on TV.
No, yeah, there's no reason to save him, but it's reflective of how bad the game has been for his side. They've already exhausted all their timeouts, not even halfway through the second half.
And here you're playing for pride if you're Marquette. Had a terrific season. Obviously, everything has gone wrong in this game. And Kansas just totally outplaying them. You look up at the scoreboard as a coach and you say, okay, guys, we're down by 40. Let's get it down to 30. I mean, that's the way you got to look at it.
That's
play for pride.
That's not a speech he's had to make before.
No. That's not a speech that he hopes he ever has to talk about in his life again.
That's right.
And you know who's got to really be dying? Sitting up there with us is Tom Izzo. Watching his former assistant coach this ball game and say, I don't want to be there either.
Locked away by Kansas. Still hungry. And finally, Merritt inside.
And there's Nash giving up some power inside. Merritt giving him a good shoulder check as well.
Lee.
Young man having an excellent tournament as Lee. We saw the great defense on J.J. Redick of Duke that took Redick out of that ball game and probably changed the complexion of Duke's offense completely. Doing it at both ends of the floor.
He's the 5th Jayhawk in double figures with 11 now. Jackson. And it's Langford.
Well, what you like to see, Marquette is hustling. They're battling.
Go to the official site of NCAA Sports to get complete NCAA basketball championship coverage. From video highlights to the latest news from the Final Four, all at NCAAsports.com.
And there's Roy Williams, Jim, coaching for Monday night now. He has both Heinrich and Collison on the bench, trying to save those seniors' experienced legs.
Kansas has been working with this, well, basically working with a 2-to-1 advantage on the scoreboard for most of the game. They've hit their last 9 shots.
Well, they didn't shoot but 76% in the second half. They were 22 for 29 against Arizona State, so just more of the same here.
Novak works his way free, and he's on the board. His first 2.
Nash can go by. The explosive leaper. Not there.
Trying to go to Graves. Under 12 timeout. 82-43 Kansas. Back here in New Orleans and 82-43. We talked how this is such an even matchup. The four teams that made it here to New Orleans, everybody's saying, oh, you just pick a team. They're all about the same.
Well, we're seeing that that's not the case at all. I go back to experience, but a couple of things statistically. The great fast breaking of Kansas. The other thing, too, against Kentucky, when Marquette stopped their 26-game streak, they were 10 for 19 from 3. Today, they have not been able to buy anything outside the arc. Here it becomes, again, if you're Kansas, it's a matter of execution. Just play solid basketball.
That's against Kansas. Number 4 on Graves.
And Roy Williams livid with Graves, trying to make a play that was not there. Collison's going to come back in. Graves will sit down.
How mad can you get at a guy when you're 39 points up?
Well, I think if you're a good coach, what you're trying to do right now, and Roy Williams certainly is a great coach, you're trying to keep your team in a concentration mood. Not to look at the score, not to lose sight of what's ahead.
Merritt, nice shot.
Again, with a little pickup, full court, zone trap, slows Kansas down slightly. But with Miles, you've got to be careful. He'll break that trap with the dribble, and then you'll have numbers for Kansas. Marquette back in a little matchup 2-3 zone.
Miles back out. Collison, 5 on the shot clock.
Good hands.
That was Townsend.
Got a little piece of it to Townsend.
Diener inside, and he's clobbered. Wow. Thursday on CBS, it's a case of murder at the movies. Did a film inspire a killer? An all-new episode of TV's most watched show, CSI, Thursday at 9, 8 Central here on CBS, America's most watched network. Diener to the line for the Golden Eagles. 1 out of 9 from the field is Diener.
Well, Diener has had his problems, as I said, in the last 2 games. He had played so well offensively in the first 2 tournament games for Marquette, but he was 2 for 8 against Pitt and 1 for 6 from 3 against Kentucky, 2 for 8 on the game. So he is 4 for 16 coming into the Final Four in the last 2 games. He's going to sit down now.
Well, you saw Wade come on the floor. He's back.
There's his 2-2-1 full court trap. But as I said, you give Miles the ball against it.
And Wade comes in, almost makes a steal. Stead's called for the foul. Well, Roy Williams is on his way to his first win at a Final Four since his first game at the Final Four, when he beat his mentor, Dean Smith, at the 1991 Final Four in Indianapolis.
Well, that was historic in some respects, because Dean Smith did not coach the final minutes of that game.
That's right.
He was thrown out of that ball game. Bill Guthridge took over from that point. I'm sure Roy Williams didn't want to see that happen.
Good box out by Novak. Went on to play Duke in the final in Indianapolis. First championship for Mike Krzyzewski. And Roy, after that win in his first Final Four game, lost his next 3, all to ACC teams.
Well, to his alma mater, North Carolina, in '93, where he was the only non-number 1 seeded team in that tournament.
Yeah, Duke in the 91 final, North Carolina in '93, and a year ago, Maryland in the semifinals.
Oh, Langford again just blows by Townsend.
But it's not going to count the basket. It was way outside on Townsend.
People, I think, that guard Langford underestimate that first step of his. He really explodes to the basket.
4 changes in the Marquette lineup, including Joe Chapman. Jackson back on the floor as well, and Diener. And Sanders.
There is a walk violation on Miles. Not called. Langford again.
23 for Langford.
He just seems to be able to find those cracks, doesn't he, Jim?
Entire game. That is his specialty, though.
Yep.
Playing so much bigger than his 6'4" size. Wade cuts through, got caught underneath. Marquette ball.
Beautiful move by Langford, using obviously his strong hand, his left hand, to put it away.
He's made 11 out of 13.
Pretty efficient.
Tremendous wingspan you saw right there. 3 on the shot clock. Diener. No one there.
That was a pretty good idea, but I think Sanders thought that Diener was going to take the shot.
Well, Collison had a double-double by halftime.
And he has been so patient. That's one of the things I like about this experience in Kansas with the 2 senior leaders. They have not tried to push anything whatsoever.
Collison out, and Graves back on the floor.
Here's the 2-2-1 full court press again.
Backboard scoring, that's a small advantage, huh? 70-19.
And here you see the zone. After that, full court zone trap. Nice pass inside.
Tipped up by Nash. Jackson clears.
How about the way Lee made room for himself with his shoulders? Really a powerful young man.
Wade, and a reach in on Kansas.
Wade, a really good crossover dribble. Whether right hand or left, keeps the ball low to the floor. And with his quickness, it's a tough move to stop.
That's on Langford, his first. Wade will shoot at 1-1. 17 fouls. Yes, this Marquette team facing those doubters every step of the way. I can't tell you how many people, when the pairings came out, said, you know, I think Holy Cross might be the first round Cinderella. You know, they did put up a great performance there, the Crusaders, in that
2
first
years
game.
in a row for Holy Cross. And you got to remember, in Conference USA tournament, this Marquette team was beaten by UAB in the first round that they played. So, you know, it's not surprising.
And then everybody said, I like Missouri in the second round.
Absolutely.
It was overtime thriller.
Then you had to like Pitt.
It had,
and then you definitely were taking Kentucky.
They're not going to beat Pitt. They can't beat Kentucky.
Well, the answer for the person that said it's got to stop somewhere, they had that straight, and they ran into the Jayhawks today.
Second on Sanders. Graves to the line. Of course, so many people heard the story this week about Marquette in a league game coming down to New Orleans.
This is meteorologist Mike Berger in the CBS 11 Storm Center. Just wanted to update you on a new tornado warning. That tornado warning has been issued for Eastern Parker and Tarrant County. That, of course, includes Fort Worth, and they are in effect for those 2 counties until 7:45 this evening. Very, very nasty storm that's held together for the last, about 3.5 hours. Now, if you notice there, just to the southeast of Advance, looks like a clear spot. That's quite possibly what we call a vault, and that could be a lot of a lot of inflow into that storm.
We interrupt our regular programming to activate the North Central Texas Emergency Alert System at the request of the National Weather Service. The Weather Service in Fort Worth has issued a tornado warning for eastern Parker County and Tarrant County, North Central Texas. This is until 7:45 this evening. At 6:49 p.m., a severe thunderstorm with a history of producing tornadoes was 17 miles west of Springtown, moving to the east at 35 miles per hour. The storm will be entering the western sections of Tarrant County just after 7:15 this evening. Locations in the warning area include Halton City, Hazlitt, Keller, Lake Worth, Lakeside, North Richland Hills, Pecan Acres, and Reno. This is an extremely dangerous storm. In addition to tornadoes, hail the size of softballs and damaging winds to 80 miles per hour are likely with the storm. Once again, eastern Parker County and Tarrant County, a tornado warning until 7:45 this evening. All North Texas Central stations affected by this alert are requested to rebroadcast the preceding announcement. We now resume normal programming.
With a game-high 23 for Kansas, and this was a kid coming out of high school in Texas, not very highly recruited. Many people thought at 6'4", just not big enough to play in the Big 12. But
again, this meteorologist Mike Berger in the CBS 11 Storm Center. Let's go right to our radar, and you can see this very big thunderstorm that's headed through Parker County. Now a tornado warning. A tornado warning has been issued for the eastern part of Parker County as well as Tarrant County until 7:45. If you live in the Lemley area, Goshen, Lucky Ridge, Carter, Springtown, Keeter, Wright, Highland Addition, and Fairview, be on the lookout for this storm. It is capable of producing very, very large hail, strong gusty winds, and of course the possibility of a tornado. Again, a tornado warning, a new one issued for eastern Parker and Tarrant until 7:45. We will keep you apprised of the situation. Return to the basketball game right now. Any further developments about the storm, we will pass them along to you immediately.
When a game gets this lopsided, you start thumbing through the books to see where this one might rank in the annals of Final Fours. And the all-time record, I'm a little surprised that it's only 34, but that Michigan State Penn game you brought up, in fact, Michigan State in that game, that's the last time a team scored 100 points in a Final Four game.
That was 101 to 67. They were leading at halftime 50 to 17. I remember, I think Dick Enberg and I, well, actually Dick, who made all the calls, Jim, said, okay, Al, this is your kind of broadcast. Take over. And he proceeded to entertain people for the entire second half.
I know you've enjoyed, though, the week, how much it's brought back to so many people, the great warm stories of Al McGuire and your special friendship with the Marquette legend.
Well, I'll tell you what, we could use him right now here to entertain us for this second half, I can tell you that. I'll never forget Al in 1977 winning that championship and sitting on that bench in tears, knowing he had already resigned at midseason, decided he wasn't going to coach anymore, and what a finish for an incredible career as a coach.
How one-sided is this game? If Kansas was shut out this half, they'd still be leading by 7.
You're kind of rubbing it in here.
Well, this is
total domination.
Amplify of what a first half tsunami this Marquette team ran into. 59-30.
And one of the things that All-American Dwayne Wade will learn in this game, or should learn from this game, that if you are a superstar, you have got to step up right at the start of the game and sense it. And sense that things aren't going your way and try to take over the game. He is actually kind of blended into this ball game. He's going to have solid stats, but not what you need from the guy that's got to put a team on the back when everything's going wrong.
And a huge ovation from the Kansas throng for Keith Langford.
So now you have all 3 top scorers for Kansas, Heinrich, Collison, and Langford on the bench.
And that chartered bus that the family and friends brought over from Fort Worth, it can stay put for a couple of extra days here. Hawkins in the game.
Cold, good inside position by Graves, and gets fouled.
Billy, you talked about 1977 in Atlanta. Marquette in North Carolina. You were there to call it. Butch Lee, team high at 19 points as Marquette won the championship.
Well, North Carolina took the lead on Marquette. Al McGuire knew that North Carolina would go into their 4 corners. He had the guts to stay back in his zone, did not go for the trap or the bait. And finally, when North Carolina got impatient, missed a shot, Marquette never looked back. Lee, the MOP of that tournament,
sent a telegram to the Marquette team this week that Butch Lee, he said, just remember, number 15 will be with you. Names like Butch Lee, Maurice Lucas, Jerome Whitehead, Bo Ellis, Dean Miminger. Brought back to mind this past week with this Marquette team making it to the Final Four. Miles inside, and that's swept away by Wade.
Diener, no place to go again.
And he lost control of it. Lee, little scoop, Raves, tip in.
Merritt got a piece of that ball, took off some of the English, let it drop right through. You know what, Jim, you're talking about Al and this Marquette program. He finished in the 70s. He was 8th in 70, 2nd in 71, 7th in 72, 5th in 73, 3rd in 74, 12th in 75. He was in the top 10 right on through to his last year. That program was probably right behind UCLA as the best during that period of time in the country.
Diener thought he'd made the three.
Hey, he took off the other way, didn't he?
Miles, he was making a little move on Marquette, got away from him. Let's check the CBS Sportsline stat of the game, that backcourt scoring stat. You can get complete tournament stats at cbssportsline.com or on America Online. Enter the keyword CBS Sportsline.
Well, did you think that some of the players that are presently on this floor with 4:42 to go, Jim, about 2 hours ago, that we'd expect to see out here? Vincent in the game right now.
Steven Vincent for Kansas, number 20. Freshman from Lawrence. And Nash with the read on that, forced the steal.
Excellent read by Nash on that play. Anticipated that it was going to be a pass, not a dribble. Now here you see the subs now executing the Kansas offense very well.
Nash with a three. Wade again. Silky smooth to set himself free, but
never shows any expression facially. But has been too patient in this game. And back in this defense, it really helps Kansas because there's no pressure really on the ball. No need to try to make a big play as Nash does there.
Third on Sanders.
Turnovers, inability to convert, shots not going in, errant passes, and just too much from every aspect. There you see when Wade got hit in the nose. Everything going wrong for this ball club.
Nice three-point play by Nash. Under 4 timeout, the lead's back to 40. Tomorrow night on CBS, 60 Minutes, My Big Fat Greek Life, Becker, and the whole 9 yards. Bruce Willis, Matthew Perry starring in the network premiere. All here Sunday on CBS, America's Most Watched Network. We got Grimm in the game for Marquette, Chris Grimm, freshman from Brighton, Michigan, and Moulin Yon for Kansas, number 55.
Leon Wade. One matchup to watch here that could be interesting. And there's Wade again, Jim. So smooth.
18 delay for Wade.
Yeah, I mean, there's an 18-point game, which is a fine basketball game. But he's the kind of player who has to understand a day like today, a 30-point game is what he's got to do for his club. And he's capable.
And Diener coming in there to help force the tie-up and the arrow to Marquette.
And number 34,
Kansas bringing in Brett Olson, the walk-on, and Nash sits after a big three-point play. Wade, turnaround three real quick.
And goes to the line for 3.
Foul called on Vincent. Billy Halbaum, assistant coach on the Marquette side. There is Trey Schwab. He needs a lung transplant. He's number 1 on the list back in his region.
Well, he had to do some research to figure out that he would be capable of being within that 2-hour limit to get back home in case he gets that critical call.
Private plane at the ready the entire time he's been down here this week in New Orleans. if the call ever came. Wishing so much luck here in the coming days. Trey Schwab, assistant to Coach Tom Crean.
Well, Wade, who's 78% free throw shooter, not getting what he wants.
Double up. And it's going back to Kansas.
That's a good break for Moody right there. That ball got tapped out because this is not the same as playing a scrub game back in Lawrence. I mean, you're right now at the Final Four playing some substantial minutes.
Outside three. How sweet it would have been for Vincent. Here's Diener. Rattles out. Grimm. Well done. Put back.
Here comes that full court pressure again. Rather meaningless pressure at this point in time. Jan does a good job there hanging on to the ball. Diener's hurt out there on the floor right now. I think he hurt his knee or his ankle.
Off the front of the rim, it was Olsen. Still belongs to Kansas.
Diener's going to come out.
Marquette, number 10, Huron Bradley.
Bradley comes in for him. Chapman also.
There it goes.
Wade out.
Wade and Diener out of the ball game. Coach Crean realizing, and I guarantee he's talking to them right now, Jim, about next year when we get back into the Final Four, we'll be ready to play. That's what you've got to do, and you know that Tom Crean with his psychological work with his team is probably doing that right as we speak.
I tell you, it's a dynamic young coach, this Tom Crean. Vincent going to Moody, kicks it back out, and the three from the corner off the mark for Hawkins. Chase down Olsen. To Nyon. Jumper.
They keep getting offensive rebounds.
That was Moody with that offensive rebound. Number 34 Kansas, who went to Roy Williams High School back in Asheville, North Carolina.
And most of the starters from Kansas standing up on that sidelines, rooting like crazy for these guys to score.
They want to get them in the books with a basket.
Well, there was a sub one time from Kansas that got a chance to get in a Final Four game and get a shot up. Dean Smith.
He got 29 seconds, I believe.
That's right. I don't think Adolph Rupp ever got a chance to score. So there aren't many guys, the Bob Knights and the Dean Smiths, that had a chance to coach a national championship team and also play in a game.
That was the 1952 Final Four. The coach Dean Smith.
Isn't it amazing the connections between North Carolina and Kansas over the years in terms of Larry Brown, you know, a North Carolina grad, goes to Kansas, coaches them to a national championship. Roy Williams, a North Carolina grad, goes to Kansas, has him in a position now to play for one on Monday night. Dean Smith, a Kansas grad, goes to North Carolina and coaches championship.
Well, how about Dean Smith getting his championship in 1982, his first championship? Right here in the Superdome. Got his second one here also. And now Roy Williams, Monday night, will be playing for his first. He's been in that final before in 91, but Duke beat him 72-65.
Hey, there's a basket.
Give it to Nyon.
Well, this has been a tough day for Marquette and their basketball history. But great for Kansas.
They should savor those special wins they had, though, all season long, and then over Pitt and Kentucky last week. That's it.
Who would have believed it, huh?
Had that last basket gone in, it would have set the all-time Final Four record for the largest margin. 33, though, is the difference.
So Cincinnati and Michigan State can still claim it, huh?
That's right. Third time in the tournament, Kansas has never trailed in a game. Well, you heard the chant for about the last 5 minutes inside the arena here. Rock Chalk, Jayhawk, KU. And I'll have a chance to bring that out again on Monday night. Kansas is in the final. Roy Williams once told me, I want to win a championship as much as I want to breathe. He'll have that shot Monday night here in New Orleans. Greg Gumbel coming up when we continue from New Orleans in a moment.
Welcome back to New Orleans, everyone. Greg Gumbel with you from our Final Four position courtside here in the Louisiana Superdome with a reminder. Coming up next, Syracuse will play Texas. The tip time for that game is 8:56 Eastern Time. The Chevy most valuable players from our first semi. Dwayne Wade for Marquette, 19.6 rebounds. Keith Langford, 23 points for the Kansas Jayhawks. And speaking of the Jayhawks, let's go down to the floor. Jim and Billy are standing by with a couple of happy Kansas Jayhawks. Jim.
Yes, they are indeed. Thank you, Greg. Coach Williams, congratulations. And Keith, we were talking about the experience for you guys having been in a Final Four last year, being such a huge edge. Was it for you guys tonight?
I think it was this time. I've been thinking this whole time that experience really didn't matter. And, you know, we still have to play, but I think we had just a slight edge, and our experience really showed tonight. It was a big factor.
Roy, you've been an incredible coach throughout your career, but have you ever had a team play a more solid game than that at any time?
Well, not in the first half in this big a game. You know, against Arizona State in the second round, we were sensational in the second half, but our kids were focused. Everybody was worried about that, and I think Keith, Kirk, and Nick knew what they could do, and we were patient, but we were aggressive, and that's what we always try to be.
Great combination, Jim.
All right,
Jayhawks were awesome.
Thanks.
We'll see you Monday night. And we'll continue from New Orleans. Syracuse and Texas are up next. They've taken the floor here in the Superdome.
Greg Gumbel with Clark Kellogg and Tom Izzo. Why did Kansas win this game so convincingly?
Well, I think two big keys for Kansas were transition defense was unbelievable. As our offense, was unbelievable, and the three-point shooting that Kansas displayed. I thought both those things were big keys for Kansas. On Marquette's side, I thought the lack of transition defense or defense in general was a big key, and also Diener and Novak got off to such a poor start.
Yeah, they only shot a combined 2 for 18, but the backcourt scoring. Aaron Miles starts the game making a three-point shot. I thought Kansas was superb. They were patient and aggressive, as Roy Williams said. Their defense was terrific, and Keith Langford did everything that he's been known to do.
This is a CBS 11 Storm Team Weather Alert.
This is meteorologist Mike Berger in the CBS 11 Storm Center. Let's go right to the radar. We are really concerned about this area right in here. I want to get a little tight shot of this. If we can get right in the town of Dicey. See this hook right there? That's what we're concerned with. It's about 2 miles northeast of Dicey. These storms are moving to the east at about 30 miles per hour. Very well could be a tornado right in here just northeast of Dicey. So let me give you a quick rundown on where these storms are headed and how fast they're moving there. We'll just draw you a little squall line and go right out to about here to Eagle Mountain Lake. And, well, we didn't take it that time, but nonetheless, if you're just northeast of Dicey, what you need to be concerned with is this area right in here. We'll be back, and we'll continue to follow this storm as it moves.
We're witnessing a college basketball miracle. Dick Vitale, silent, an entire 17 seconds. On a personal note, for myself and sportscasters everywhere, I'd like to thank the crust, the juicy toppings, and the pizza delivery guy.
Fresh baked pizza at home. It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
During this year's men's basketball championship, the NCAA and Pontiac have showcased great moments from past tournaments through the Pontiac high-performance plays of the NCAA promotion. You, the fans, have had the opportunity to vote, and here were your picks for the Final Four.
Smart takes the shot. And the Hoosiers with 3 seconds. Indiana wins the championship. Keith Smart is the hero.
It's down to 7 seconds.
You can see the time. Wittenberg. Oh, that's a long way. The tie, 18. Shot, Jordan, Michael Jordan, 14 seconds. And Brown.
Look for Sleepy Floyd.
Oh, he threw it to the wrong man. He threw it to Worthy. Over.
There's the pass to Leitner. Puts it up. Yes!
Thank you for voting. We look forward to adding more great tournament moments to this list. And we welcome you back to New Orleans and to the Superdome. Joining us now at our Final Four anchor position is Dick Enberg, here to announce the winners of the second annual Class Awards. Welcome, Dick.
Yeah, we'll get right to that, Greg. We just got a word from upstairs that at the 10-minute mark of that first game, Al McGuire took two technicals. Anyway, thank you, Greg. Inspired by Duke senior Shane Battier, an award was initiated last year honoring the college basketball senior who, despite today's temptations, does not leave school, stays to celebrate his senior season. The inaugural Senior Class Award winners last year were Juan Dixon of Maryland and Connecticut's Sue Bird. The national voting includes Division I coaches, basketball media, online balloting. Nearly 100,000 votes were cast by you fans. Here then, alphabetically, the steamed list of 10 finalists for the 2003 Class Award. Matt Carroll, Notre Dame, at 20 points a game, the leading scorer for the Irish, leaves as Notre Dame's all-time three-point shooter. Nick Collison, Kansas, the Big 12 Player of the Year, led the Jayhawks in scoring and rebounding, a wooden first-team All-America. Brian Cook, Illinois, the Big 10 Player of the Year, the first Illini in 13 years to lead the Big 10 in scoring. Reese Gaines, Louisville, the point guard captain, led the Cardinals in scoring and assists in both his junior and senior years. Jason Gardner, Arizona, four-year starter, led the Wildcats in scoring, assists, and steals. Kirk Heinrich, Kansas, second to Collison in Jayhawks scoring, a tenacious defender. Heinrich, a Wooden Award finalist. Josh Howard, Wake Forest, the ACC Player of the Year, a first-team AP All-America. He led the ACC in scoring and offensive rebounds. Kyle Korver, Creighton, a two-time Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year. Korver led his team in scoring and rebounding. Hollis Price, Oklahoma, two-time All-Big 12 guard from New Orleans, led the Sooners in scoring and assists. And the 10th nominee, All-America David West, Xavier, first man in conference history to score 2,000 points and grab 1,000 rebounds. To be sure, that's an impressive list of finalists, 10 men who honored their commitment to their school, their coaches, and their team. They do pay a special tribute to what senior leadership means to college basketball. And the winner is Xavier's David West. He concluded a brilliant career by becoming the first player in Atlantic 10 history to be named Player of the Year 3 times. The 6'9" West, a four-year starter, was the leading vote-getter on this year's AP All-America team. The 22-year-old native of Teaneck, New Jersey, has already earned his undergraduate degree in communication arts. The balloting was tough. Nick Collison of Kansas was a very close second to David West. The runaway women's senior class winner, LaToya Thomas of Mississippi State. Chantel Anderson of Vanderbilt was second. Congratulations to the winner. They'll be honored on April 25th in Kansas City.
Congratulations indeed. Thanks, Dick.
Okay, great.
Now this reminder, the women's basketball national semifinals coming your way on ESPN tomorrow night, starting with the Lady Vols of Tennessee against the Duke Blue Devils. That's followed by the Texas Longhorns against the UConn Huskies. Coming up next, Mika Brzezinski with a CBS News special report, America at War.
U.S. troops entered Iraq's capital for the first time today, but only temporarily. A column of 60 armored vehicles drove through the southern part of the city as a show of strength. The Americans met fierce resistance, with the U.S. estimating hundreds of Iraqis killed. One American is reported dead. The aerial barrage of Baghdad continued tonight. CBS's Lara Logan is there.
The Iraqi capital is still firmly in the grip of the country's leadership. I've seen more armed men. Some of them are wearing uniform. I didn't see the Fedayeen paramilitary fighters, but other journalists reported seeing their very distinctive black. The night skies here over Baghdad have just been lit up with orange flares and massive explosions. Meanwhile, Iraq's information minister dismissed reports that U.S. troops had entered Baghdad and insisted the Iraqi Republican Guard is still firmly in control of the airport.
Despite Iraqi claims, CBS's Jim Axelrod reports U.S. forces still control the renamed Baghdad International Airport.
I'm standing on the tarmac here and see no evidence, not one bit of evidence, that there's any attack imminent. There has been no artillery all afternoon. We have seen no Iraqi troop movement. The airport tarmac is covered in military vehicles, U.S. tanks, Bradley fighting vehicles, Humvees, every conceivable kind of Army vehicle is on the tarmac, and it only grows in number by the hour.
In West Virginia, Jessica Lynch's family left to visit her in Germany. Private Lynch was rescued this week by U.S. commandos in Iraq. Her father was overcome by emotion when asked about her 7 comrades whose bodies were identified today. 77 Americans have been killed in action so far, and 27 British soldiers. That's the latest from the war in Iraq. I'm Mika Brzezinski, CBS News, New York.
Well, the Kansas Jayhawks are vying to be #1 when all is said and done. 94-61, the Jayhawks over Marquette. They are one of the participants in Monday night's championship game. We will soon determine who the other participant will be. Syracuse, Texas. Tip time is about 15 minutes from now at 8:56 Eastern Time.